doing? Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Are you gonna beat me up? Hi. Hey everybody, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Jessica Blatz, and today we are going to be talking about how to reduce your carbon footprint and be more eco-friendly. So, as I'm sure a lot of you know, April 22nd, this past Wednesday, was Earth Day. It was the 50th anniversary of Earth Day, and obviously it looked a little bit different due to our, global climate. But there were a lot of live streams that are still happening today, Friday the 24th, and I just thought that this would be a really good opportunity to talk about some ways that you can reduce your impact on the planet. I came up with a quick and easy list of 10 different ways that you can reduce your carbon footprint starting today, and let's jump in. The first thing is going to be to reduce your waste and lower your overall consumption. We live in a very consumer, driven time. I know that I'm guilty of this. I tend to buy too much from Amazon. I tend to do a lot of the instant gratification buys, and then I am left kind of feeling guilty about it, and well, definitely feeling guilty about it, and realizing that it's something that I probably didn't need. The movement towards minimalism is probably your best bet in this way of reducing waste and lowering your consumption, but I realize that that's difficult and it can be a process. So just being mindful of what you're buying and how much you really need it, I think can just help a lot. Just practice that consciousness. The second way is going to be to avoid plastic packaging when possible. It can be really tempting, especially in the grocery store. I find that it's really tempting to look at something and be like, oh, that's so much easier to just pick that up. It's easier to buy a pre-made salad than to spend the time to prep your salads for a couple of days in advance. But it can greatly reduce your plastic consumption, especially since a lot of those prepackaged foods and prepackaged salads and like soups and things like that come with utensils that are also plastic. Which leads me into number 3, which is going to be use reusable straws, utensils, and bags whenever possible. For this one, I actually wanted to show off my own. This is from Max. I got this for Christmas, and it was a little set. It comes in this cute little pouch, Max on the front, and it comes in this little tube with multiple straws. I have some more in here, I have some in my kitchen, and a little cleaner. And it's just a really compact way to keep everything together. Sometimes I'll throw like this in my purse and this in my backpack and keep them separate so that I have more ways. It always, when I first started, it always ended up being like, I would have my purse and I'd be like, oh, I have my reusable straw, and I would leave it in my book bag. So it was easier to just separate them, but that is a really easy way to reduce your impact. Another one's gonna be these reusable bags. This goes for just regular grocery bags in general, which I didn't bring any of those in here, but also for produce. That's a big one. Those little plastic bags that we tend to just mindlessly grab and pack our fruits and vegetables in there, not thinking anything of it, actually have an extremely negative impact on our environment, getting into our waterways, not breaking down properly. Here in my area in Tampa, Florida, you actually can't even recycle plastic bags. I don't know if there's anywhere in the country that allows plastic bags to go into recycling. They get caught in whatever the grind process is going through recycling, and they actually mess up the machines, therefore they get weeded out. So these are really important. And if you're worried about the extra price, these come with a little tar weight just to offset, whatever it's adding to your bottom dollar. And they come in all different shapes and sizes. And then this is like my little, I normally take this one with me to markets. It's easier for like if I buy a candle at the market or something, it holds everything. So definitely invest in some of those. It's a lifelong investment for the most part. I don't know how often you really need to replace them. You can wash them. Number 4 is going to be to buy local produce when you can. By doing this, you are reducing your carbon footprint, because when your fruits and vegetables and your produce travel long distances, they're giving off carbon emissions, whether that be by plane, by truck, whatever it is, it takes longer to get to you and it causes, more harm than good. It also is a good thing to give back to your community. With every dollar spent in your community, I think it generates like twice as much revenue as giving to a corporation, at least for your community specifically. So it's such a beautiful thing to shop local. And I think that you find that when you shop local, things taste better, it's better quality. Most of the things that you're consuming are gonna have been picked within the last 24 hours, which is pretty impressive. And it just gives you this sense of community, especially in co-op situations that you don't get from going to a local, not a local, corporate grocer and buying your produce. Number 5 is going to be to compost. This is something that I personally do not do yet. I am working towards it. I'm really excited for it. I want to start my own garden. Probably in the fall. I miss spring planting. But composting actually serves the environment so unbelievably well. I didn't even realize until I was digging a little bit more and doing some research for this video, but it helps in so many ways. It returns natural nutrients back into the soil. It works as an amazing fertilizer if you do have a garden. It allows you to avoid those chemical fertilizers that can then, cause runoff and get into our groundwater. And it also extends the life of landfills because less things are going into the landfill. And I didn't know this, but when things like organics are left in a landfill, sometimes they can break down anaerobically, which means without oxygen. And breaking down without oxygen, it can actually cause them to create more greenhouse gases. Who would have thought? They can also combine with metals in landfills and in the earth and cause different other types of greenhouse gases. So it's actually like one of the greatest ways that you can reduce your personal impact is to compost. Once I start that journey, believe me, y'all will be the first to know. I will be taking you guys along for all of that, especially like my garden and when I plant. I'm super excited for that time. It's a few months out, but this is a perfect time to remind you that if you like this video, if you are excited about following along with those things, do not forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Once you are subscribed, hit the little notification bell down below and just stay tuned. I'm going to be going through a lot of different processes over the next couple of months, but eventually I will get to the composting and the planting, and I hope that you guys are excited to see that. So 6 is going to be something that you all probably learned when you were younger. I remember when I was first learning about climate change, and they didn't call it climate change back then, they called it global warming because, everybody thought everything was just getting hotter. And I remember the first thing they told us is like, lower your energy consumption, and everybody was like, what does that mean? Switching to LED lights and just, all the different ways. Make sure that you turn a light off when you're leaving a room. Be sure to take shorter showers and don't leave the water running when you're brushing your teeth, and just all these little things that you can do. Now, after years and years of watching different documentaries and becoming more educated, I now know that that is a very minuscule way to make a difference, but that doesn't mean that it's not important, and it doesn't mean that it's not making an impact if enough of us are doing it. So one of my greatest tips is going to be to just utilize your natural light. It cuts down on the need for electricity when you can just open your windows and let natural light in. It's obviously going to lower your energy consumption as long as it's not unbelievably hot and then you crank up the air conditioning and offset everything. Doesn't make any sense, but there are ways to just make your house more green friendly. On a larger scale, things like solar panels. My mom rents. I live with my mom. So it's not like we can be like, let's get some solar panels going. It's not quite that easy. But if that is something that's within your reach, that's another way to cut down on your energy consumption. And it's a really important and vital part of doing our part, no matter how small that may be. Number 7. So if you guys have been around from the jump, you know that originally I said that I was on my way to becoming vegan. Being vegan cuts down on your carbon footprint tremendously. The amount of water, I wish that I would have pulled up the numbers for this, but the amount of water used to raise 1 cow or produce 1 pound of beef is astronomically larger than you would ever believe. And it is actually, a really bad thing for the environment. All of our agriculture, the amount of space that we are using and deforestation that is happening in order to grow these crops to feed these animals is actually higher than the cropland that we have, like the area of cropland that we have for us as humans. So, it's a double-edged sword. It's not doing anybody any justice. I personally have a very bittersweet take on this because, like I said, I was trying to go vegan, but since my UC has started, there are only so many things that I can handle, and a lot of the vegan alternatives actually hurt my stomach. Soy hurts my stomach. A lot of the ingredients in those things just don't sit well with me and make me sick. And so I had to make the decision between my health and the environment, which is not an easy one for me. My heart is, so attached to environmental issues. So this was definitely a bummer for me. But I'm limiting it to chicken and eggs. I try not to do red meats at all because obviously the cattle business is one of the worst contributors to these issues. But if you can and is within your reach, vegan, even if you're just adopting a meatless Monday, or you want to go 1 week out of the month with no meat, or whatever feels best for you, whatever you can do, whatever you can handle, never at the expense of your health. I would never, suggest that. But know that if you're worried about things like protein consumption and getting all your vitamins, that is not an issue in going vegan. I will post a whole video about the benefits of going vegan, how you can, swap things out. I'll talk about my own personal diet and what I do to make sure that I'm still being environmentally friendly and how I'm eating and how I'm Hello. Hi, Kitty. And how I'm consuming my foods. So number 8 is paying to offset your carbon emissions when traveling. There are different websites that you can go to that are trusted and proven that you can put in where you are leaving from, where your destination is, and they will actually calculate your carbon emissions for you, and then you can donate that money to a charity that will go back into the environment. These charities and organizations are helping to change the world and to make the world a more safe place, the environment cleaner and healthier. And I mean, it's a great thing to donate if you can, just in general. But for me, I know I was supposed to be going to Peru this summer, which sadly is not happening. I should actually have been leaving in about a month. But I know that I told my mom I would not travel if I could not afford to offset my emissions, and I stand by that. It can be a little bit more expensive, but in my opinion, I think that it's important to know that, we are in a privileged spot to be able to travel, and that our traveling has impacts on not only the environment, but more vulnerable populations around the globe, and doing our part to make sure that those places and those people are protected, I feel is a responsibility, a very large civil responsibility that a lot of people overlook. Obviously, if you have to travel for something and you can't afford it, or you want to travel and you can't afford it, I'm not going to tell you that you're wrong. But if you have the ability, I think that it is very important that you do so, because you are leaving a huge carbon footprint, especially when flying. Which my little travel bug heart feels you. I feel it. I know it's hard. It makes you feel, all shitty inside. But just handle your civil responsibility and maybe try and change your outlook. Number 9 is to bike and use public transportation if available, when possible, etc. Me personally, I can ride a bike 50% of the time. Yes, you heard that correctly. I am 22 years old, and 50% of the time when I get on a bike, I fall off of it. I don't know why. It's just one of those weird personality quirks of mine. I drive a 4x4 jacked up with a V8 engine truck. It's what I could afford at the time. It is my little baby, but I know it's not eco-friendly. My next vehicle will be, I promise y'all. But it just wasn't in my, it wasn't in my cards. So I'm very aware of my carbon emissions and what I'm doing. I try to be conscious of where I'm driving if at all possible, driving with somebody else. If they can drive and they have a more eco-friendly car, I think that's a great thing. Also because my gas prices are ridiculous. But, you know, it is what it is. Yeah, public transportation is a great way to cut down on your carbon emissions, as well as biking when and if you can. And last but not least, I'm going to leave you guys with a very generic way to fight ecological anxiety and to make sure that you are being, as helpful as possible in this fight against climate change. And that is to just stay educated, continue learning, continue watching documentaries and reading articles, and just keeping up to date with what's going on. I did not even realize just how crucial this is until I read Greta Thunberg's book. When I read her book, I realized that we were nowhere near where we needed to be to cut down on our carbon emissions in time to protect this beautiful planet the way that we know it now. So I just think that it's important that no matter how passionate you are, you know that there's always more to learn. And just being more aware of your personal choices, I think that helps so much. We can't all be perfect. One of the things that I know I suck at, and I'm going to work on it, it's something that I find very hypocritical about myself, and that's fast fashion. Even this shirt, it's beautiful, I love it, it has a great message, but I got it from Target, and I know that fast fashion is an issue. I should be thrifting, I should be not consuming, and that's something that I'm working on personally. But I think it's also important that we don't berate ourselves for our shortcomings and instead celebrate the things that we are doing to help. So if you go vegan but you still buy fast fashion, or if you cut out fast fashion in your consumption but you're not able to compost, or you consume a lot of electricity, or you have to travel for work, you're doing the best that you can with what you have. And I think that that's just important. Just show heart and concern for this beautiful planet that we live on, and we're all taking steps in the right direction. I hope that you found this video inspiring. I hope that you learned a little something from it. I will link the products that I do have down below for you guys, along with some resources for carbon offsets. And yeah, enjoy the rest of this beautiful Earth Month, and I will see you all in the next video. Bye guys.